You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 96 of the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, at you boy the tank on Twitter, and I am joined today by Mr. Harrison Tarr. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, man, I am great. Great show lined up for everybody. I already got to record a little bit of it, and super excited for everybody to check out some really good recruiting analytics, or if you will, good recruiting analysis, rather. Man, it feels like Big Cat Weekend is never ending. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I mean, we have been talking nonstop Auburn recruiting from the I want to say just from the jump of the College Loop, and I think this is something that's going to be a staple of the show from this point on, because I don't think we've had a single show in the last 2 weeks where recruiting has not been the main topic, and now we get a guy who knows recruiting probably better than both of us combined.
That's right. We had the privilege of sitting down with Caleb Benson, independent recruiting insider, 64 out of 69 correct independent predictions. By the way, if you guys are not familiar with how that works, that is impressive work from an independent recruiting analyst. Impressive work from any analyst for that matter. So host of the Four Guys Recruiting Podcast, Caleb Benson, right here on the College Loop. We're going to go ahead and head over that way, and we're talking Big Cat. We're talking big targets. Over to our exclusive interview with Caleb Benson. All right, and now it is my privilege to bring on and welcome on Caleb Benson, independent recruiting analyst, onto the College Loop. Caleb, thank you so much for joining us, man. How you doing today?
It's glad to be here, man. It's an honor.
Yeah, well, it's our privilege to have you on. We've been following your work, and we've name dropped you more than once on the show about your work, because you're pretty damn good at what you do. 64 out of 69, is that right?
Yep.
That's pretty damn impressive, especially as an independent recruiting analyst.
Yeah,
so we want to bring you
to get the flack for the ones I missed, but I try.
Hey, look, everybody does. I get flack for shit that I said that's wrong all the time, and sometimes I think my opinion's right, and other people think it's wrong, and they give me flack anyways, and it's all subjective. So we're just gonna have fun here on the College Loop Podcast talking.
Let's do it.
Some football recruiting. I'm gonna let Dylan kind of take the reins here, so we can look from a technical side. But we're talking right here on the College Loop with Caleb Benson about the success to this point of Hugh Freeze's staff's administration in the recruiting discipline, and what that looks like going forward from Caleb's perspective. Dylan, I'm going to turn the reins over to you. This one's to your stick.
All right, and I think I'm going to start off with, I didn't mention it before, but Perry Thompson, because I know you predicted Perry Thompson to go to commit to Auburn and flip from Alabama. I know, dealing with flipping anybody from Alabama, you got a little flack from the other side of the state for doing that. But so just what went into your confidence level, knowing right before it happens that Perry Thompson was going to flip to Hugh Freeze?
I love this one right here. I think 3 months ago I put in a prediction for Perry Thompson to Auburn. I got a lot of flack from. I was saying I was the first, but obviously it was somebody. They said Patrick something on a messenger board. I don't read message boards, but they said he was first, so I want to give him his credit. But I guess I'll be second. When I put in my prediction, I was hearing a lot of Auburn. But a lot of Alabama fans, they don't want to lose anything to little brother. So I heard a lot of Auburn, and I was hearing the rumors were true, and I went and put it in.
Without giving away your sources, Caleb, and we're not here to get you to go air anybody out, but did you get any background as to what the thought process was for Perry Thompson to flip? We found out later that it had a lot to do, according to him, with Hugh Freeze's ability to develop at the wideout position. I mean, look at TK Metcalf. I mean, hell, you need a better example.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's the personality. I mean, Freeze is a really personable guy. He's really relatable. He's messed up. We all know about the mess ups, and he's bounced back. I mean, what person wouldn't, relate to that? So I think he's really relatable to the kids in that way. He doesn't really treat it like a CEO type role. He's more, just one of the guys. And, the players love that, and I'm not just talking about the 24 class, the 25, they love that as well. So, I mean, I can see Freeze. He's really making an impact. And going to Perry, I don't know. I just think it is. I don't want to. it's just really about like the connections, and I feel like he would feel more at home. And obviously the playing time comes into a factor. He's gonna be able to. Well, nothing's 100%, but
Sure.
you know,
He's going to get to play ball
yeah,
together.
he's gonna get some PT at Auburn.
For
right
sure.
away.
Dylan, did you have you want to keep building on that? I kind of wanted to touch on that super quick about the playing time and the PT, if that's okay for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Point. From your perspective, Caleb, and you've dropped crystal balls on a lot of guys. We're going to talk about KJ Bolden here in a minute. But from your perspective, you touched on the playing time and Hugh Freeze being personable. Is that what you're hearing is the most, I guess, the biggest selling point for Auburn right now? Is that, hey, you can come make an impact immediately. We're going to work the transfer portal as what Hugh Freeze has been open about, but also at the same time, this 24 class and the 25 class are going to define his success in Auburn. So has his approach been, hey, come share this vision? Or has it been, hey, I mean, you can play ball at 19 years old here, 18, 19 years old here at Auburn?
I think it's a mix. I don't think one thing's going to get a top recruit. They're hearing a lot of these same things from other programs, So playing time, I don't really think that's going to just put you over the hump. But I feel like it's a combination of everything. I did a Q&A. I got a Q&A coming out with 4-star OT, Zaire Addison. And I was talking to him yesterday, and he was just telling me about, some of his top schools, and, Auburn was in there. And he was just talking about how personable and just like, it's just a family. It's a family vibe. We all know how Auburn is, when you go there as a fan. And you want others to enjoy that. And that's just how they're feeling at home. It's a home feeling. Walker White's been preaching it. Come be in this family. And, players are starting to listen.
How big of a role do you think Walker White's playing in this recruitment process?
I don't know. I feel like Walker's playing, obviously every team has guys talking about come join me, come play with me. I just think, he's kind of the funny guy, I don't want to say he's a joke. He's not a joke, but he's like the funny guy. Like, of course, he's the QB. Everybody takes the QB serious. It's just everybody knows he's a dog, so they want to come play with him. I mean, dogs want to play with dogs, and that's just he's an added bonus.
It's almost, you talk about him and talk about Fat. I mean, two extra recruiters on that staff, right?
Fat and Walker, they're very vocal. They're showing love. They're always showing love. They're always, the other day I think Walker, he posted something on Twitter. He was like, I got 4 extra chains for you guys. It's just stuff like that. Guys love that.
Hard to not like. Dylan, continue.
It would have been real nice whenever I committed to Auburn, or as a student, I got one of those.
Yeah,
that would have been nice.
that would have been a cool bonus.
It would have been real nice.
A lot of signing papers.
But we also talk about how Perry Thompson, he even went out. He said in front of the media, he chose Hugh Freeze over Nick Saban just because of the history of the position for both coaches. And Tar, you brought up DK Metcalf. I'll also raise you the fact that he made Laquan Treadwell a first-round wide receiver, and of course AJ Brown as well. Just guys that are just dogs in the NFL. And like I think I said last episode, you get to 2 Ole Miss guys when you rank NFL wide receivers before you see an Alabama wide receiver when you're ranking best to worst wide receivers. And just because that's just how good AJ Brown and DK Metcalf are and were at Ole Miss. And you think about like recruits like Perry Thompson, you think about recruits like DeMarcus Riddick. Another big name has come to mind, just a guy that we have been nonstop talking about because he's the biggest name in the recruiting world right now, because he is also looking at schools like Auburn, Georgia, and Florida State, and that's KJ Bolden.
Wow, that's you. I'm gonna say that. I didn't know that. KJ Bolden. Wow. I wonder who that is. But yeah, no. I guess that's all we've been talking about since Saturday, right? Saturday.
It's waiting on the domino to fall, right?
I mean, KJ Bolden. I don't know. So Saturday night. What I heard a lot of things about how the visit went. I heard he was a silent commit. I heard he was close to committing. I heard a lot of conflicting things. I heard he was basically an Auburn Locke. And then you go to Sunday, I'm still hearing the same type things. And then we get to Monday now, it's a lot of different things I'm hearing. As of right now, I'm still hearing Auburn though. I've heard the FSU. I hear a little bit of Georgia. I don't hear as much as FSU, but I still hear Auburn is there, and I'm sticking with my prediction. I currently haven't predicted Auburn. I think I did last week. That's where I have them right now.
So we'll find out about KJ Bolden on, let's see, today's Wednesday. It'll be Saturday, the 5th of August, barring something else popping up earlier. And we talk all the time. Whatever's the right time for these recruits is the right time for them. We're happy for them regardless. I am with you a little bit there, Caleb. I think it's Auburn, Florida State. How important?
I do stay in mind, Florida State was his dream school growing up. It was his dream school. He's taken the most visits to Florida State. He really likes the staff there. I would say right now, I'm an Auburn fan. They have a little bit more, track record behind the coaches that have been there. So I can see the Florida State. I can see it.
I think Georgia's probably out. From what I've gathered, does that feel about correct, or could they just dark horse on commitment day?
I don't think they're out. I think they're outside looking in, but I don't think they're out. I don't think you can really count Georgia out. I don't think they're in the lead by any means. I think it's a two-team race right now, but I don't think they're all the way out, if that makes sense.
And that makes perfect sense. You don't have to look that far back.
He's a guy who wants to play. He wants to play very soon. And Georgia, I'm not saying he can't do it at Georgia. He's a very talented. He's a 5-star. He's a top 10 player in the country for a reason. But it's a little bit harder at this point at Georgia.
You don't have to look that far back to see some examples of Georgia kind of staying in the race long enough that people think that the hometown talent can stay home. I mean, first off, the high school football talent in Georgia is unbelievable. But I'm kind of with you there. I think that the importance of playing early will probably play a factor there, and that's probably combined with the fact that honestly, I'm just now learning Florida State was his dream school growing up. I apologize to the viewers of the Loop for not doing my due diligence knowing that. But that certainly makes things interesting. If Auburn were to land the commitment of KJ Bolden, how close are they to rounding out the, I guess, splash commitments, if you want to call them that, in this class? There's a couple other names we're hearing floating around. How close is Auburn to getting to the point where this class is going to be what it looks like?
I'm not gonna lie. I think this class can be a top 10 class from some of the guys I'm hearing. Cam Franklin, T.J. Lindsey, Bradley Shaw. I know we want to add probably one more running back. I'm not really sure who we will get, but I know we'll probably get a 4-star, one of the guys. It's a couple guys on top of my head. I can't really remember. But this class is going to be pretty good. I think it's going to be top 10. I think we're around around 16, 17, 18 area. But I think it's at L and top 10.
In that ballpark, depending on where you look. Dylan, continue, my man. I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, Auburn is now ranked 18th in the country because South Carolina had a little bit of a jump after picking up Dylan Stewart, which that's what happens when you pick up one of the best players in the country. And talk about KJ Bolden and how he commits on Saturday. Yeah, so when we talk about KJ Bolden committing on Saturday, we also have Jalewis Solomon committing on Saturday, a guy who, when you talk about guy who's looking at both Auburn and Florida State, Jalewis Solomon's doing that too, but he's also looking at South Carolina. So I was just going to ask you just your thoughts on Jalewis Solomon because he's committing the same day as KJ Bolden.
I think he committed to South Carolina. I haven't really heard any other buzz from any other schools. I could be wrong, but I'm not going to put a prediction out on him because I've just heard South Carolina, but I'm not sure, to be honest with him.
Sure. What Shane Beamer is selling, people are buying.
Yeah, sure. So. I can speak on that though, if you would like.
Go ahead, by all means. All we got you. We love
guys love Shane Beamer. He's really, he's a great coach. I feel like he's had enough success where he can bring in a little success. You're the missing piece. He also hasn't got over the hump, but he's a great salesman. He's had a little success beating Clemson. They haven't done that in a very long time. So guys are really getting buying in it and wanting to go play for him.
Yeah, I think the ultimate recruiting tactic is having winning football, right? And you beat Clemson and Tennessee, and people are going to look. People are going to pay attention, especially with the year that Tennessee had last year. So I guess kind of to that point, Dylan, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
I was about to say it's interesting when you're looking at Shane Beamer and never really getting over the hump. You also have the same thing for Mike Norvell, and I guess you can kind of say it for Hugh Freeze right now. Just looking at three guys who are really just getting recruits to buy into what they're selling, without really having the success of like a Kirby Smart, a Nick Saban, a Ryan Day.
It's working.
Yeah,
it's real.
I guess kind of that point, I kind of want to speak on the culture side of things, and I'll kind of take it away from the head coaching position to the staff in its entirety. I'm curious to get your thoughts. It takes a village to recruit a platform like this, and regardless. But when you're selling recruits on a new system, on a new coaching staff, or for that matter, like a Shane Beamer or like a Mike Norvell that has not quite gotten to a point where you're like, yeah, damn, this is a really competitive football team every single year.
Right.
Yeah, you have to have the right pieces in the right places. What do you hear? What are like the most common, I guess, points of reference that you hear people talking about in terms of guys on the staff? And it's probably a layup answer for Hugh Freeze that are doing a great job selling Hugh Freeze's vision and selling Auburn as a whole.
Can you say it one more time? My bad.
No, you're good, man. The answers are probably going to be like Trevon Reed and kind of like Williams, but
who's the guys that's sticking out, in the recruitment? Yeah, yes. It's definitely Trevon Reed, Zach Etheridge. I think he was him and Cadillac were the only two that were retained on the staff, the previous staff. Zach Etheridge, everybody loves Zach Etheridge. I mean, I don't think he gets enough credit. I think Cadillac and Trevon get a lot of credit, but I think Zach Etheridge, he's, you never really complain about DB recruiting. It's always pretty good under Zach. You never complain about running back recruitment. That's really the only thing you don't really complain about. So those two, Trevon, I think he really does a little bit of it all. He's really, everybody loves him. He has big ties in Louisiana. He's just he's a player's coach. I mean, what can you say about him? Everybody loves him. I haven't talked to one recruit that doesn't like Trevon Reed.
There you go. So T Reed doing exactly what we expected Trevon to be continuing. Really, those three guys were the shining spots on the Harsin administration. Can you imagine if Harsin would have had them?
Yeah, like out of the all the coaches, you'll see Trevon with the the more hip clothing. He's more relatable to the youth. Some coaches are not. Some coaches can't do that, but he's like, I guess, just one of the guys.
And that's got to be a selling point, right? Yeah, being able to relate to the guys that are recruiting you is everything. And there's that, like I said, it's a bit of a layup question, but something important to note. I mean, people are giving Hugh Freeze a ton of credit, deservingly so. But it's important to remember the guys that are also in the trenches. Whenever you hear the closers are in the building, the implication there is Trevon Reed, Zach Etheridge, and Cadillac Williams have entered a conversation with a recruit that they think they're close on. Right. Dylan.
You bring up just the team all just being boys together, and your football team are like all your brothers all at once. But you've actually predicted a brother to join his older brother at Auburn as well with Caleb Falk in 2025. Like the little connection I did there. So what goes into it? How much does family play a part into predicting where a guy's going to go, especially in Caleb Falk's and where he is? And I believe as Malik Blockton, I think is related to Marcus Harris. I believe they're brothers.
I think I had a prediction for him as well. I feel like Malik Blockton more family. Caleb Falk, he's one of the top players in the country. He's one of the top. He's been recruited by Clemson. He's been recruited by just a bunch of big schools. So I don't really think the brother thing. I think it played a little part, but he loves. He went through his own process, his own recruitment, and he just loves Auburn for himself. If that makes sense, he's fell in love with Auburn on his own accord, and I think he's at this point he's a lock to commit to Auburn. I think when does he commit? The 20th? I'm not certain, but I think it's this month. I think at this point he's a lock to commit to Auburn, though.
Wow, that's big time. that is big time.
And he still has a lot of time to think about it too, because 2025 guy, and It's crazy to think about. Like those genetics run strong. Just the fact that you have your brother's a 5-star defensive end, and then you turn around, your little brother comes up, and he might be a 5-star linebacker when it's all said and done. Like that's crazy to think about.
That's crazy.
All right, to kind of put a nice bow on this here, Caleb. Dylan, did you have anything else specific that you wanted to ask real quick?
I was going to ask about some future guys we might be hearing from that you haven't quite done a prediction on yet.
Of course, you have more questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Because recruiting is a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, it's never-ending.
So I have 3 guys that I've been hearing a lot about, but I don't really have the intel that you do about them. So first guy I'm bringing up is DeAndre Carter, a guy that we've talked about can be an anchor of any offensive line, being 6'4", 340 pounds.
All right.
So what have you been hearing about DeAndre Carter? And especially with the thought that Auburn has never really been the team to go to California, let alone Mater Dei, and recruit the number 1 interior offensive lineman in the country in DeAndre Carter. So just what are your thoughts on that? And what have you been hearing about Carter?
I think DeAndre Carter, he took an official to Auburn not too long ago. This weekend he was in Big Cat, and it really speaks volumes. He came to Big Cat on his own accord. It was not an official visit. So, he's coming all the way from California just because he wants to come check out Auburn. His family's paying for that. So I think that speaks big time to how interested he is in Auburn. I have a prediction coming out for him soon, but I think where it's gonna be too. So
right on. Well, if you want to come drop it on the show, we're
I got a few for the end, that I can drop, on here.
Hey, we'll talk about it. We're all about it, man. Don't keep going. There's a couple more.
All right, and going up next, I'm going to go with IMG, going from one huge high school team to another huge, maybe even bigger than Mater Dei, is IMG and TJ Lindsey, a 4-star defensive lineman that's been getting a lot of traction with Auburn. So, just what are your thoughts on TJ Lindsey and his potential commitment to the Auburn Tigers?
All right. Yeah, I think he visited Auburn on Monday. Him and Cam Franklin from Mississippi. I think they're both. I can see TJ at Auburn. I'm not really ready to put a prediction for him. I'm not really ready to put a prediction for Cam Franklin, but I can see TJ at Auburn.
Yeah, you bring up Camarion Franklin, and we talked about him on the last episode. Just how much of we talk about like KJ Bolden, where I think Tarr was very adamant on having his little crystal ball prediction for KJ Bolden. But looking at Camarion Franklin, it seems like it's a bit of a stretch right now to call him an Auburn lock or even like a soon to be Auburn commit at all, because I think he's still very early on in his process, and I think he still has a lot of schools to look at. I think it's Miami. I know Ole Miss is on there, and I think A&M are all his top schools that I've been hearing the most about with him. Right. But I mean, just what does Auburn need to do to really hammer in that Camarion Franklin should, come to Auburn?
I feel like they made up a lot of ground when they got him to visit on Monday. They wanted him to come for Big Cat. He wasn't able to make it. I think he visited Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. I think he visited Tennessee. They made a lot of ground. I heard all positive reviews on Monday. That's when he got a lot of buzz on him on Monday. But I think if they get him, for a game, they can, get that commitment.
Yeah, and that'd be huge if Auburn was to get yet another 5-star in the class of 2024. But and now
convinced that Auburn's getting every 5-star ever. By the way, Dylan has convinced himself that every 5-star in the class of 24 and 25 is coming off. So.
Dylan Raiola.
That would be nice.
But so I brought up IMG. I brought up Mater Dei, but a huge part of recruiting is recruiting in the state. And Auburn has found it very difficult to even come in second, third, or fourth in the state of Alabama in the last few years in terms of recruiting. And now you're hearing about, Jamarian Burnett, Fat Burnett. You have Perry Thompson. You had Cam Coleman, who was very close to considering Auburn as well until A&M really hammered home how much they wanted him. Just all these guys are really setting in the fact that they are considering Auburn as a real-time landing place. And so we have not gotten the last 2 coaching staffs. And we're looking at, if you go to Hoover, a school that Auburn has been fairly good at recruiting from. The last guy I remember vividly coming from Hoover is Shedrick Jackson. There's probably some other ones mixed in there. But Bradley Shaw, the linebacker, 4-star linebacker out of Hoover, Bradley Shaw, and just what have you been hearing about him and just being in state? How much does that help in Auburn's case?
His recruitment has been a little bit more, tight vest. I heard he liked Auburn. He likes Auburn. If I had to pick one school right now, I would pick Auburn right now for him. It's a little buzz for him to Auburn, but if I had to pick right now, I would definitely pick Auburn for Bradley Shaw, the linebacker out of Hoover.
A lot of Auburn rumors and a lot of Auburn buzz. That really speaks to, I guess, my kind of. Can I put a bow on this now, Dylan? Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll throw in some basketball. Are there any potential Auburn basketball commits coming
I
up?
had a freeze question, dude.
Everybody wants me to say Flory to Auburn. I just can't do it. I've had Duke, I think, for 2 months right now. I still been hearing Duke. I'm not hearing as much Kansas anymore. If they think that, you guys think that is a win. I'm not really hearing Kansas. And I'm still hearing Auburn is in it. I'm not saying Auburn is not in it, but I'm hearing a lot of Duke, and I think that was his dream school when he
three blue bloods.
Duke, Kansas, and Auburn. That's right.
But I will say Todd Pettiford he's the truth.
Yeah. He's up next.
He's next.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, agreed.
But he can do it all, and he's small. It's crazier.
It's nuts.
Yeah, he's one. I think he's the best point guard in the country. From everybody I've seen, I think Todd Pettiford's the best.
You heard it right here first. Todd Pettiford is a future All-NBA. That's what I'm inferring here. Caleb, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to put a nice little bow on this super quick, kind of go back to football because we are right here. Fall camp is here. Report day has arrived and passed now. Where are in your book of where you expected Hugh Freeze's staff to be versus where they're at now? Has Auburn met or exceeded that expectation, and are they on track to be able to be a year-in, year-out contender to finish with top 10, top 7 classes in the country?
I think if you have to answer that truthfully, it's far exceeded. I've seen a lot of people's opinions. I've heard a lot of opinions. Everybody thought Hugh Freeze would definitely be better than Harrison, but they don't think he'll be where he's at right now at this time before he even played a snap of football on a Saturday. I can't wait to see how they play this season. I think the season's coming up, and I'm ready to see how it translates to the field. But I definitely think it can translate to more top 10 classes. I definitely get that year in and year out. And I think this year might be on the lower end, and I still think they're in top 10 this year.
And Auburn, in 2023, Auburn wins how many football games this year?
You had to put me on the spot.
That's what we do around here.
Careful, we have a very avid Auburn fan base.
I think they win 8.
That's the right answer. Yeah.
8. What did you guys say?
I said 8.
8. I think that's really, I want to be an Auburn fan and say we're going to go 15-0 and win the national championship year one. Like, this is college football, the NCAA. But I just see us winning 8, and I see us building on that.
We got 9 wins in us.
Yeah, I've been in the 8-win camp since I've had to work my way up. I was in the 6-win camp for a while, but I'm in the 8-win camp now. The Mississippi schools are now not on my radar anymore. I don't.
6 wins. Okay.
If you make a bowl game, you win a bowl game, you're already in better shape than you were last year, and quite frankly, better shape than you were the year before because the previous administration just, I'll be honest, call spade a spade, did not know what the hell they were doing, did not care to learn what they were doing.
Yeah. Sadly. Can I say something before I leave? When we had a little technical difficulties, I realized the College Loop just followed me. That's crazy. That's crazy. I've been showing, I've been following you guys, but no, I was just playing this on jokes.
Well, Caleb, let everybody know where they can follow and check out your work, where they can find you, and where they can follow along. Especially, you said you've got a couple more predictions coming out soon, and we'll touch base if that's something you want to hop on a live stream and do. We're about it.
Let me know. I appreciate the hospitality. Check me out at CB1_The Fiend on Twitter. I appreciate the love. I appreciate Dylan. I appreciate Harrison for showing me love. This is a great podcast. Make sure y'all tune in. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. Caleb Benson, everybody. Thank you so much to Caleb Benson for joining us today and for talking Auburn recruiting. Guys, if you guys have not already followed him along with him on socials, definitely go do so. He plugged him just a moment ago, and I don't have it right in front of me, so if Dylan's got the Twitter handle in front of me, you can. Otherwise,
Yeah, I can.
Let's get into Theoretical Thursdays.
Actually, before we get to Theoretical Thursday, I want to ask you a question real quick. So we just got off with an interview with Caleb Benson. You know,
I know you're about
at CB1_the Fiend on Twitter. But after that interview, just how are you feeling, man?
You know, it's crazy you say that, Dylan. I'm feeling a little bit loopy.
Feel a little loopy. I like that shirt. Where did you get that shirt from?
You know what's crazy is throw the damn graphic on the screen, Dylan. You can get your own Feeling Loopy shirt right there at thewarreport.com on sale for $25. We shipped out our first T-shirt today as we're recording this. First Feeling Loopy T-shirt. These are the most comfortable T-shirts you will ever wear. I'm not just saying that because to be a salesman. I am not a salesman. I am in fact a football enjoyer, and I feel the loopiest when I'm rocking my Feeling Loopy co-branded T-shirt with the War Report Podcast Network. Guys, they come in 4 different colors, I believe. Right, Dylan?
It is 5 colors.
5 colors. Even better.
Well, you got the heather gray, you have the black, you have the heather black, and then you have the navy and the heather navy.
And when I tell you guys that these shirts, I mean, I've had to wash mine several times. Dylan mentioned in the last show that he's got to wash his on a constant cycle. They are legitimately the most comfortable shirts I've ever worn. I'm not just saying that. They look great, and most importantly, you get to tell people that you're part of the loop. And
man, I would wear them every day if I could.
Tell you what, those for whoever our first listener was that purchased the Feeling Loopy shirt, I absolutely want you to go on Twitter, and all of you guys that purchased Feeling Loopy shirts, show us where you're rocking your Feeling Loopy shirt. We will absolutely retweet it. We'll throw it up on the. Actually, Dylan, I'm gonna go and tell you this. I'm gonna cut out more work for Colin. We'll throw it up on the broadcast for the YouTube version as well, and say, hey, shout out, you're looking great. Because it's impossible to not look great in a shirt like this. So.
I mean, I cannot lie. It is way too comfortable.
Oh yeah,
it's too comfortable.
I didn't have to go this hard.
Exactly, dude. I mean, I just started one more time. warreportshop.com. And I mean, if you want to make it easy for yourself, just go to the description below. Like, comment, subscribe, and also it's right there. Just click the link in the description below, and you can get your own Feeling Loopy shirt.
While you're scrolling your way down this page, to make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell, so you can stay up to date with all the latest stuff going on in the College Loop. Just go grab the Feeling Loopy shirt. But now,
you know what's been going on? I saw what's been going on this week. Fall camp has begun.
I've heard that.
Auburn Tigers, and the season is getting so much hype, and so are 3 Tigers who have found themselves on a national watch list for specific awards. And some of them, I was kind of surprised by one of these and which award they are for, and not the one that they should be on. But I'll take it because I guess I'll start off with Oscar Chapman just because I love special teams so much. Ray Guy Award watch list. A guy who was the 2021 Iron Bowl MVP, if you ask me. No one was better than Oscar Chapman on the field in 2021.
Possibly the ugliest crane kick I've ever seen, but we'll move past that.
I mean, it was so worth it at the moment.
It was a little hard to watch. Yeah.
And then you have 2023 transfer, the only one on the list. Justin Rogers, the DT from Kentucky, is on the Outland Award Trophy watch list, which big year coming up from him at the nose tackle position next to Jason Jones and that entire monster of a defensive line. But the last guy I think we're going to talk about a little bit more. DJ James,
Dog.
the best corner on this team, has been recognized
in the SEC
and has been recognized by being put on the watch list for the Bronco Nagurski Award. And what is the Bronco Nagurski Award? I ask everybody, and I know it's for the best defensive player in the country. Not only he's not on the watch list for the best defensive back or the best corner in the country. He's on the watch list for the best defensive player in the country. And honestly, I cannot think of a time that a DB has won the Nagurski.
I can't either.
It's just it's like the Heisman is like a quarterback award nowadays. It's like the Nagurski is like a linebacker award.
But hey, the rest of the country's seeing the vision. DJ James, DJ James is, if not certainly one of the premier DBs in the SEC, in the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah.
And if you don't know his name, where the hell you been? Welcome to the Loop. But you go on.
If you don't know his name, if you're an Auburn fan, you don't know his name, well, your quarterback is going to become very well acquainted with DJ James. And the media members who voted him third team alongside Nehemiah Pritchett are really about to learn that that's a first-team DB right there. But
cough. So is Nehemiah Pritchett. Cough.
But Tarr, you know who else is seeing the vision?
Who else is seeing the vision?
I'm going to say that Gregorio is seeing the vision as he gave us our theoretical Thursday question, and I meant to put it on the thing, but it didn't say for some reason, so that's awesome.
We'll just read it.
Gregorio Duran, 3355, one of our premier. If I had to put a Mount Rushmore of subscribers, Gregorio is right up there alongside Bob Williams and James Barnett.
Subs right now, I think. So mine's a 464 way tie.
Oh, you're right. But Gregorio has been helping us out with Theoretical Thursday a lot and asking us a lot of questions that always show up on the show. Theoretical Thursday question from Gregorio. What if Robby Ashford wins the starting job and accelerates under this new offense? Maybe having – this is the funny part to me is the fact that he went very specific.
All in.
1,000 rushing yards and 2,500 passing yards along with 25 total touchdowns. I love it. I love this so much.
In this what if hypothetical, from that perspective, and we're going to dial it back here in a second and talk from a logistics standpoint. But Dylan, in that scenario, Robby Ashford's going to New York for a Heisman ceremony, and that is certainly one of the theories of all time. I don't know that that's in the cards for Robby Ashford, but it is an interesting. I mean, I'm glad Gregorio asked this. We talk a lot about Peyton Thorne now. We all presume that it's going to be Peyton Thorne as the Dylan. Everyone except for you,
known Robby Ashford truther Dylan Larck, loves the thought of Robby Ashford having an absolutely awesome, spelled AUSOME, season for the Tigers under the first year of Hugh Freeze.
Yes, I get that. I understand. Peyton Thorne would not have transferred to Auburn if he did not think that the job was not easily attainable, but quite attainable. And I think most of us agree that Peyton Thorne will be the starting quarterback for the Auburn Tigers come week 1 against UMass. We will see split action between him and Robby Ashford for sure. But what if Robby Ashford wins this job? First off, damn, that sucks for Peyton Thorne. Because, wow, another year of eligibility out the window. But more importantly, we had a really interesting discussion before we hit record, Dylan, you and I did. You ask yourself, I think Peyton Thorne is a solid quarterback. I do not think that, upon watching his film, I don't even watch his 2022 film because no one should be judged off of that kind of year from Michigan State. But we know what Peyton Thorne can be. We know what Robby Ashford can be, but we don't know what Robby Ashford's ceiling is in the level that we know what Peyton Thorne's ceiling is. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You play a bigger gamble if you start Robby Ashford in terms of you may have some bad turnovers and you may lose some ball games because of some bad turnovers. I don't think Robby Ashford's the passer. Matter of fact, I know Robby Ashford's not the passer that Peyton Thorne is. But at his best, I've said it a million times if I've said it once, Dylan. Robby Ashford has glimpses of Nick Marshall.
Yes, he does. And I ask you say that, and I'm going to say this. And I'm not comparing him to anybody. But do you know the last Auburn quarterback to pass for over 2,500 yards and rush for over 1,000 was?
Cam Newton.
That is the correct answer. But the difference –
he might be the only Auburn quarterback.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure he is.
I don't think there's another one.
Nick Marshall could have done it, but he did 2,500 in one season and 1,000 rushing yards in another season. So.
The multi-year approach, I understand.
Yeah, so if the first quarterback to do it in back-to-back years, I guess.
Right.
But the difference between Cam Newton and Robby Ashford in the stat line is, we said if he does this, I'm just going to pull it up one more time. If he has 1,000 rushing yards and 2,500 passing yards, that looks great. That those are Heisman numbers. The 25 total touchdowns, though. I think it's probably what holds it back a little bit from being like Heisman contention right away. I think with that, you'd probably be Heisman watch up until maybe, I want to say October.
25 now I'm no math whiz here, so give me a second. Just that's about 2 and some change touchdowns a game in the regular season. That probably does not win you 12 games. But if we're talking about just passing and rushing touchdowns, not including the other work from your backs that are going to be phenomenal, like Jarquez Hunter, take your pick. I mean, this is just stable. I would say Damari Alston. I keep going. We're not going down that rabbit hole. Auburn's like a 10-win team. And under those parameters, that's crazy because I'm not saying it's not feasible. I'm not saying Robby Ashford doesn't have all the talent in the world. Dude is a ridiculous athlete. We need to tailor it down just a little bit and look from a realistic standpoint. Is that in the cards for Robby Ashford? Because I talk a lot, and I throw around the Nick Marshall comparisons a lot, and I know we say never compare another Auburn quarterback to Cam Newton. Probably should not compare another Auburn quarterback to Nick Marshall.
No. Or
Jarrett Studham, for sure. Or Studham, excuse me.
Former starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos.
Soon to be starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Former Las Vegas Raiders legend. Anyways, I digress. Still, you have a higher ceiling, much like his personal skill set. You have a higher ceiling for the outcome of the season, I think, with Robby Ashford. You have a much lower floor.
Yeah, and you look at it from looking at last year's standpoint, from the starting quarterbacks that returning in the SEC, Robby Ashford does rank the dead last in completion percentage for I don't know the minimum amount of snaps or throws or anything, but of the comparable starters, he is last. And he went 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. 1 for 1 is not the greatest touchdown interception ratio in the world. It's not negative, but it's not the greatest. It's just bottom of the barrel.
And also keep in mind schematics last year too.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind that team was bad, and that was also the first year Robby Ashford ever really took meaningful snaps on a college football field.
The team was horrible, and the coaching was piss poor.
Yes, and I said earlier, you have a much higher ceiling with Robby Ashford just because of what he can do, and we've seen it in the past. The era of the stand in the pocket, pocket passer quarterbacks, I think is slowly going away. If you see it, you're like, that quarterback is not moving. He's a statue. This team's not going to win anything. Because the last quarterback who was a pocket passer that got a lot of recognition, God, dude, that goes way back. I want to say Andrew Luck.
That was the name I was about to pull.
Of course it was. Why wouldn't it be? And
I was about to be like, Andrew Luck?
And then you bring like CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, who are guys that don't really like to run, but they pass the ball. They're pass first quarterbacks, really, and first, but they can move. I mean, Bryce Young, if he ran the 40-yard dash, I swear to you that Bryce Young is going to run a 4.4 flat, just because I've seen him move, and I'm like, this guy doesn't run the ball. Why not?
Yeah,
it makes no sense. But I watched Robby Ashford play, and yeah, you bring up the lowest of low floors and the highest of high ceilings with Robby Ashford. But you look back at the past of Hugh Freeze quarterbacks. I mean, when you look at the skill sets, Robby Ashford and Link Willis are very comparable in terms of what they can do. And I would say when Hugh Freeze got Malik Willis, I think Malik Willis was in the same boat as Robby Ashford is now. The only difference is Malik Willis was not a starter at all whenever he got to Liberty. And I mean, he played at Liberty and he had time to develop under Hugh Freeze because he had sit out a year. And I look at Bo Wallace and Chad Kelly, and there's someone else I'm missing in the middle of those two, I believe. Someone is in between. Who is in between those two quarterbacks?
Yeah, continue.
Oh my Lord! But I've talked about it before on way back, and this is like Auburn Daily Show, where you see Hugh Freeze quarterbacks, and they are gamblers when it comes to throwing the ball. They try to make those deep ball throws that they probably shouldn't throw, but they work sometimes. And we saw it when one of the games Hugh Freeze beat Alabama. was that just weird touchdown that is like one of the greatest plays in like that rivalry history. Was the Bo Wallace throw to, I don't know the receiver's name, but the one who caught it over like 2 Bama DBs and ran it in for a touchdown. Like Hugh Freeze is a bit of a gambler when it comes to developing quarterbacks. Like he wants his quarterback to know that you can make these throws, whether or not you should make them or not. I want you to try to make these throws if you can, because gambler plays can turn into big touchdown highlights. And I mean, Robby Ashford did have a tendency to make throws that he shouldn't last year. That's why he went 1 for 1 touchdown interceptions. But also, he didn't have the team built around him. He had Tank Bigsby, he had Jarquez Hunter, and that's about it. And those are running backs. And most you can really do with those two and with the potato coaching your team is run the ball. And that's what Cadillac really implemented whenever he took over, is like, hey, we have good running backs.
Wallace and Chad Kelly, by the way. It's
just those two. I swear there's someone I'm just.
Well, he recruited a young man by the name of Shea Patterson.
That is a name right there. I put him up there with John Franklin III. It's like weirdest names to hear.
He also was probably a small part of the Jordan Ta'amu.
Yeah, that's probably who was that. Who else? No, it wasn't.
Jordan
I don't know who I was thinking of.
2018, 2019.
I don't know who I was thinking of.
That was a real thing that happened. That was not just a fever dream.
I mean, Ta'amu had a pretty decent career.
He had an awesome Matt Luke tenure. Anyways.
But I look at what Robby Ashford can do on the high side more. Just because, and I think that Robby Ashford as an average quarterback is better than what Peyton Thorne can be as an average quarterback. Strictly because the difference in their game. And I mean, I've always been a component of you need a dual threat quarterback in today's college football world. And yeah, Peyton Thorne can run, but not in the same level of a guy like Robby Ashford can. And I even say that Peyton Thorne's not as good of a runner as Jarrett Stidham was.
Well, Stidham had wheels, but
yeah, Stidham had wheels, dude. He went.
Yeah, have you seen that just raw athleticism off the
15 yards untouched to the end zone against Alabama, dude. You can't coach speed like that, dude. But I watched Robby Ashford play, and yeah, you say the highest ceiling for him is Nick Marshall, but I don't think the floor is like that much lower than Peyton Thorne's floor, and it's because I mean you have to use last year's whenever you compare stats. I mean, if we're going to use Robby Ashford 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, we got to throw in Peyton Thorne's last year's stats because the teams are comparable. It's teams that just weren't good last year, teams that kind of went into
objectively bad.
And you can't just go in and like, all right, let's use Peyton Thorne's great season when he had Kenneth Walker carrying the Spartans all the way to the Big Ten championship, but you're only going to use Robby Ashford's terrible season because that's like the only thing. It's like the only thing we have. But why wouldn't you just use what we just watched from Peyton Thorne?
I mean, Robby Ashford still a tank big speed. Yeah.
What?
Robby Ashford still a tank big speed, but yeah.
But even like Tank found it hard to do. I think last year was Tank's like worst statistical year, I believe.
Okay.
If that's
Jarquez Hunter, I'm just playing devil advocate. Okay, like
you're just trying everything in your power to make me get off my Robby Ashford train, and this thing is going full steam ahead.
There was an extensive period of time where I was a Holden Gurner truther.
Well, guess I've been on the Robby Ashford train the entire time, and the only time I ever like stuck my toe off a little bit was when Grayson McCall was in the loop for the Auburn Tigers. But after that went south, Robby Ashford was there all along. And if he gets 1,000 rushing yards, if he gets 2,500 passing yards, if he gets 25 total touchdowns, I mean, you said it. That's a 10-win Auburn team right there.
You're probably going to have to cut this part out of the episode, but I'm going to say this anyways. After, let's say, the metaphorical report card came out on Grayson McCall.
Not cutting it out.
I didn't think you would. Sorry, I had to.
Is that all you were going to say?
Yeah, no, that's all I had to add.
Okay.
Oh, come on, it was funny.
Yes, it was. But I was also getting to a point. I mean, that's a 10-win Auburn team. And you look at the games that team has, that this team has on the schedule. I mean, you're going to drop the game in Georgia. I think we're pretty much on agreement. That's like unwinnable for right now.
The game in LSU losses. Right.
But if Robby Ashford come out and be on the good side of Robby Ashford, I mean, and if you go in, if that's a 10, with 2 losses to Georgia and LSU at the time. You're going into the Iron Bowl in Jordan-Hare Stadium with only 2 losses.
There we go.
And 9 wins.
Nick Saban's never
and Nick Saban has never beaten an Auburn team that has been highly ranked or has had, I want to say, like 9+ wins.
I've never heard that stat before.
I mean, it should be my Twitter bio because I just love talking about it. Nick Saban can never beat a good Auburn team. And a team like the Auburn Tigers with the good side of Robby Ashford that has been developed by Hugh Freeze, a guy who we know has always been good at getting the good out of his quarterbacks. I think
the best of his quarterbacks.
The best of his quarterbacks. That's what I meant to say. Robby Ashford, the best side of Robby Ashford is better than the best side of Peyton Thorne. And if Gregorio just gets the stat line right, I'll pull it up again. The 1,000 rushing yards, I think, is very feasible for Robby. 2,500 passing yards from Robby would be outstanding.
Yeah.
Especially with 25 touchdowns. I mean, we haven't seen a quarterback get 25 touchdowns this season since when? I don't think Bo Nix ever really hit it. I don't think. And Jarrett Stidham, I don't think hit it either. I think you're really going back to, like, I want to say Nick Marshall. Maybe Nick Marshall. Got 14 and 12 on the 2013 season. That's 26 total touchdowns. I mean, that would definitely be the most. And I mean, you go into a season where last year you just sucked, and the fan base was just in pain from watching Auburn play.
Dylan's drinking the Kool-Aid.
If you get the best out of Robby Ashford, this team is a 10-win team who could beat Alabama. But on the other side, this team with a good Robby Ashford and the transfer portal class that was brought in, I think you could find a way to weird win your way in Baton Rouge as well.
Look,
I'm chugging the Kool-Aid.
You are absolutely chugging the Kool-Aid. And that's okay. I'm just fact checking real quick.
I think it's Nick Marshall 2013, 14 touchdowns to 12.
It is Nick Marshall. I say that because Bo Nix topped out at 19. Jarrett Stidham somehow topped out at 18. And Nick Marshall
2013, 14 in the air, 12 in the round.
20. Yep. Wow.
26 touchdowns.
Wow.
My knowledge.
That's nutty.
My knowledge of Auburn football is, I wouldn't say unmatched, but it's pretty up there. I'd say I'm in the upper quartile of the upper quartile of upper quartile of Auburn fans.
That's kind of crazy. Well, I think that's going to do it for today's Theoretical Thursday. Great question. Seriously. And this is something that we'll continue to talk about too, because, I mean, we've not heard the Peyton Thorne is game 1 starter yet. And I think we're going to see a lot of split quarterback action against, well, what most people consider the worst team in the FBS and UMass.
I mean, what was it? Like, I think someone said like 2 wins is like their dream right now.
Well, UMass, Athlon Sports has them at number 133 FBS team in the country.
But you can't trust Athlon Sports because they just throw out magazines like it's nobody's business.
Regardless, they're always in the bottom 5.
But you know who doesn't throw out magazines like nobody's business? Phil Steele.
You and your obsession with Phil Steele.
Because he has the best magazine and he waits until Portal is over.
That's fair.
Or not over, but at least
a crummy UMass team, and we'll see a lot of moving parts there.
Yeah.
Dylan, anything you wanted to add before we get out of here?
I just wanted to shout out the fact that I'm feeling a little loopy right now, and everyone watching should go to thewarreport.com, go to the shop, or go to the description and find the link to get your own Feeling Loopy shirt.
Yep, you can see that and from the link in the description. But while you're down there, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell right here on the College Loop YouTube. Dylan's going to plug all of our social medias, and we obviously love having you guys hang out with us there. Please give us all your feedback on all your content for Theoretical Thursday. Y'all, football is right around the corner.
You can smell
There is live football today as this show is coming out. It is the Hall of Fame game. It sucks, but there is live football today, and we're going to make it. It's been a long grind of an off season. We want to thank everyone. We're creeping up there toward that 500 subscriber mark. And Dylan and I are definitely going to go get a steak dinner because you guys are the reason we do it. We love talking to Auburn ball. I'm very, very proud of where this platform has gone. Very, very big announcement. I guess not super big, but super exciting announcement coming here. Maybe on the Sunday show, could be on the Tuesday show next week. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that one. Very, very excited. Thank you guys so much for your continuous support. Like I said, there's a 464 person tie for my favorite subscriber until that number goes up, and then that number will be what it is for our next show. And you guys are the absolute best. Make sure to let us know all your thoughts, anything that you want us to talk about here on the show. That's what we're here for. If you guys enjoyed having Caleb on as much as we did, we want to keep talking, touch base with him, and maybe get something really, really cool lined up here for the next couple of weeks. That was an absolute blast. So shout out Caleb Benson. Make sure you go follow him and check out all of his content. I'm Harrison Tarr at by Harrison Tarr on the X app.
Catch my posts and reposts.
Yeah, the X just doesn't sound appropriate, Dylan. I'm going to continue to call it Twitter. And if you want to follow along on Twitter, would love to have you guys come hang out over there. Had a little surgeons. Trent Seaborn tagged me in a tweet a couple weeks ago, and then just a bunch of random people showed up, and I think we have some new Loop listeners. So shout out Trent Seaborn, and to the new folks here on the Loop. Welcome to the Loop. Happy to have you. Dylan goes out of here.
Do you realize if Trent Seaborn commits to Auburn, we'll be watching him play his first snap whenever we're 28 years old?
Yeah, I'm going to be married, quite possibly with a kid on the way.
We are going to be like close to 30 when he's ready to. But again, the Hall of Fame game again is tomorrow, and it's the Browns and the Jets. And
it's tonight.
It's tonight. Oh yeah, sorry, tonight as it comes out. And if you love Auburn football as much as we do, you can go shout out some of the Auburn players that are going to be playing in the Hall of Fame game. I think Anthony Schwartz is still on the Browns team. CJ Uzomah is on the Jets, and Jamie Sherwood's on the Jets as well.
None of those guys are playing tomorrow, right?
Jamie Sherwood and Anthony Schwartz might.
Schwartz is a big might.
I don't know. I think Schwartz is far enough on the depth chart.
He might be there.
Well, I think the starting quarterbacks are going to be Zach Wilson and Kellen Mond.
Gross.
This is the ugliest quarterback battle I have ever watched. But you know what? I love gross football, especially on a Thursday.
Why I love the MAC. Continue.
Exactly. But again, shout out Caleb Benson. If you haven't already, I don't know how you found us and are not following Caleb Benson on Twitter, but he is at CB1_TheFiend. And I mean, again, he knows recruiting better than we do. And I'd say we're pretty above average in our recruiting knowledge. And he just trumps us in both.
Nothing wrong with average. Also, check out our friends over at the Up Tempo podcast and over at the War Report. Shout out to those guys. Great work. Dylan gets out.
Yeah. Also, follow us literally everywhere. You got us on X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course right here on YouTube where you can go like, comment, subscribe, leave your Theoretical Thursday responses, leave some questions for us. What do you think about fall camp? Give us some hot takes. We will love to talk about it on the show. And if you want to listen to us, of course, you have us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music, pretty much everywhere you get your podcasts. And I've yet to have announced that I am on Twitter /X as well, at your boy the Tank, at YABOY the Tank. It's also right there. So if you want it, go on X and you will find my account by looking up at your boy the Tank. But with all that being said, this has been the College Loop podcast.